Marcus Hayes stood at the edge of the research facility and watched the sky burn. The metallic object had fallen from above like a dying star streaking across the Nevada desert in shades of orange and red. He had been checking the equipment outside when he saw it happen, and his first instinct was to report it to command, but something made him hesitate. The object crashed 2 miles from the facility in the rocky terrain beyond the perimeter. Marcus waited until evening when Patricia Wells finished her shift and went home. Then he grabbed his medical supplies and a flashlight and headed out into the darkness. The pit of darkness, the Coehampton. He grabbed his medical supplies and a flashlight and headed out into the darkness. Meteorite fragment was half buried in sand and stone when Marcus found it. The metal was still warm and glowed faintly with residual heat. He moved closer carefully, and that was when he heard it. A sound like a cat crying, but with an odd pitch that made his chest tight behind. The largest piece of metal Marcus found the creature. It was small, maybe the size of a house cat with scales that shimmered between blue and green in the moonlight. The creature had 4 legs with sharp claws and a long tail that curled around its body like a question mark. Its eyes were amber and brilliant, and when they focused on Marcus, they held unmistakable intelligence. The creature flinched away and made a high-pitched chirping sound, its whole body trembling. Marcus held up his hand, slowly showing he meant no harm. "Easy," he said in a calm voice. "Easy, I will not hurt you." Creature did not respond with words, but Marcus could see understanding in those amber eyes. It was wounded too. A long gash ran along its left side, and blood had dried on its silver underbelly. The creature breathed in short, shallow gasps. Marcus knew he should call the military. He should report this discovery to command, but as he looked at the terrified little dragon, something shifted inside him. This was not a threat. He was looking at a frightened child in an alien form. "I am going to help you," Marcus said, and he meant. Ide approached slowly, giving the creature time to adjust. He reached for the wound, and the creature hissed but did not pull away. Marcus could see that the creature understood his intention, understood that Marcus was trying to help it. The alien dragon seemed to recognize mercy when it was offered. By the time Marcus carried the creature back to the facility, it had stopped struggling completely. The dragon was light, much lighter than Marcus expected, almost weightless in his arms. He smuggled it through the back entrance and into his quarters without being seen. Laboratory adjoining his room became Ember's sanctuary. Marcus had named the creature that as he worked through the night, carefully cleaning the wound with sterile water and applying antibiotic cream, the dragon made soft sounds that might have been pain or gratitude. Marcus could not tell, but he kept talking to the creature in a calm, steady voice. "Rest now," he said as he bandaged the wound. "You are safe here. No one will hurt you." Next morning, Marcus woke to find Ember curled up against his chest. The dragon's scales were warm and its breathing was slow and steady. Marcus felt his heart twist. He had crossed a line he could never uncross, but he did not regret it. For the next week, Marcus maintained his normal schedule at the facility. He went to meetings and completed his research work while his mind spun with worry about discovery. Every time Patricia passed his door, he tensed, imagining she knew his secret. Every time an alarm sounded, he feared someone had detected Ember, but he returned to his quarters each evening and found the dragon waiting for him. Ember grew stronger with each passing day. The wound began to heal, and the creature started to move around the small laboratory with increasing confidence. On the 8th day, something remarkable happened. Marcus was eating lunch and thinking about what he would feed Ember next when the dragon approached him and chirped softly. Marcus turned, and the creature opened its mouth. He expected it to try to eat his food instead. Ember looked directly at him and made a sound that was almost like a human word. "Ma," he repeated several times, trying different ways to pronounce it until it became Marcus. Marcus stared. Marcus repeated his own name in shock and wonder. Ember blinked and made another sound that resolved into something closer to the actual pronunciation. "Ma." 'Cause the dragon could speak, Marcus realized, or at least it was trying to. Learn his language. Ember was not a wild animal, was not merely a clever beast. The intelligence in those amber eyes belonged to a thinking being with language and understanding and will. That evening, Marcus sat before the creature and spoke, carefully. Using simple words, "What is your name?" Ember moved closer and pressed its small head against Marcus' knee. The gesture was so familiar, so full of trust, that Marcus felt tears form in his eyes. "You are Ember," he said, and the dragon made a contented rumbling sound that might have been laughter. When Patricia knocked on his door the next morning, Marcus almost jumped from his chair. He had been teaching Ember to stay hidden in the corner of his quarters, where the shadows were deepest, but his hands shook. As he opened the door, Patricia stood there with coffee in her hand and suspicion in her eyes. "You have been spending a lot of time in your quarters," she said. Marcus kept his expression neutral. "Just catching up on my research," I said. "Need to finish." The desert ecology server Patricia studied him for a long moment, and Marcus held his breath, but she only nodded. "Do not skip the next team meeting," she said. "It is about the new protocols from Command 1. She left. Marcus exhaled deeply. He was running out of time. He could feel it like pressure building in his chest. Soon someone would notice the unusual power consumption from his quarters. Soon someone would follow him on one of his supply runs. But as he turned to check on Ember and found the little dragon watching him with those bright, intelligent eyes, Marcus made his decision. He would protect this creature, no matter what it took. He would keep Ember safe, because something in his heart told him that this small, vulnerable being mattered. More than protocol or rules or personal safety, in the weeks to come, Marcus would learn just how right that instinct was. But in this moment, he simply knelt beside his dragon and let it rest its head on his shoulder while the Nevada sun set beyond, the window painting everything in shades of gold and red. 6 weeks had passed since Marcus found Ember, and the small dragon was no longer small. Ember had grown to nearly the size of a medium dog, and his scales had deepened to a rich emerald, green with threads of gold running across them like veins of precious metal. Marcus marveled at the transformation. The creature that had arrived broken and frightened was now confident and playful. Marcus had learned Ember's language, or at least he was learning it. The dragon did not speak with words the way humans did. Instead, Ember communicated through complex combinations of chirps and trills and body movements paired with what Marcus could only describe as emotions that seemed to radiate directly into his mind. When Ember was happy, Marcus felt warmth. When Ember was scared, Marcus felt a spike of alarm that was almost stronger than his own fear. Nights had become teaching sessions. Marcus would sit with Ember and try to expand his understanding of human speech and human concepts, while Ember taught Marcus basic concepts about his own world and his own kind. Though Marcus did not always understand what Ember was trying to show him, the dragon was patient and persistent. One night, Marcus spread star charts across his floor, and Ember reacted immediately. The dragon leaned close to the charts and made a long trill that seemed almost like recognition. Ember pointed one clawed finger toward a star system labeled Kepler 442, and Marcus understood Ember was showing him where he came from. Home. Ember said the word carefully. The dragon closed his eyes and images flooded into Marcus' mind. He saw vast cities of crystal and light. He saw beings like Ember flying through skies that shimmered with colors Earth had no names for. He saw a civilization so advanced and so beautiful that Marcus felt tears run down his face just witnessing the memory of it. But there was something else in those images too. Something dark. Something that made Ember tremble in fear. Marcus saw ships descending on Ember's world. He saw the crystal cities being consumed by black vessels. He saw beings like Ember being forced into chains and loaded onto slave ships. Bad ones. Ember whispered the words in broken English. Bad ones come take my family. Take my people. Now they hunt me. Marcus pulled Ember close, and the dragon curled against him, making small frightened sounds. Why were you here? Marcus asked. What were you doing alone when the crash happened, Ember? Was difficult to understand, but over the course of several hours, Marcus pieced together the story. The beings that hunted Ember belonged to something Ember called the Collector faction. They were conquerors who moved from world to world, taking what they wanted, enslaving who they pleased, destroying what they could not control. Ember had been captured when the Collectors invaded, but had managed to escape using a ship that was old and barely functional. The journey had nearly killed him, and the ship had started failing when it crashed on Earth. Ember had thought he was done for, but then Marcus found him. Marcus saved him. That mattered to Ember. Marcus could feel how much it mattered. "I will not let them take you," Marcus promised, and he meant it with every part of his being. "I will keep you safe." Ember made a sound like purring and pressed his head against Marcus' chest. Then one evening, Patricia showed up at Marcus' door without warning. She said she was checking on the equipment and had noticed some irregularities in the power grid. She asked to come inside. Marcus' heart began to race as Patricia stepped into his quarters. She looked around casually at first, but then her eyes narrowed. She had noticed the extra food containers, the specialized heating lamps, the way Marcus had rearranged the furniture. "What is going on?" Patricia said slowly. Before Marcus could answer, Ember emerged from behind the partition where he had been hiding. The dragon made a gentle chirping sound as he approached Patricia, and when her eyes met his, she gasped. Marcus braced for her to scream, to call security to run, but Patricia did something unexpected. She held out her hand and let Ember sniff her fingers. "What is it?" Patricia asked, her voice full of wonder and alien. Marcus said simply, "He comes from another world, and there are beings hunting him, beings that want to enslave him. I could not turn him away." Patricia watched Ember carefully, and Marcus could see the moment understanding bloomed in her eyes. "This is impossible," she whispered. "I know," Marcus said, "but it is true." Patricia sat down slowly, and Marcus waited for the anger or the accusations. But instead she asked question after question about where Ember came from, what had happened to him, how Marcus had hidden him. What did he eat? How had Marcus learned to understand him? By the end of the conversation, Patricia had made a choice. She told Marcus she believed him. She told him she would help him keep Ember safe, at least for now. They agreed on a cover story that Marcus was conducting a private study of local fauna that required special equipment and extra power consumption. Patricia would help monitor the base for any unusual activity that might threaten Ember. Over the following weeks, Patricia and Marcus worked together to create a better sanctuary for the dragon. Ember grew stronger every day, and his personality began to shine through. He was curious and playful, but also serious and thoughtful. He would spend hours looking at the stars, and Marcus understood that his small dragon was thinking of home, thinking of his people. One night Marcus asked Ember a question that had been weighing on him. "Your people, the dragon, are they still free from the Collectors?" Ember made a complex series of sounds and images appeared in Marcus' mind. Again, Marcus saw cities, but these were hidden deep beneath planetary surfaces. They were smaller than the cities before, but they gleamed with the same ancient beauty. "Some hide," Ember said. His English was becoming clearer every day. "Some fight. The Collectors hunt them, but my people are strong. My people do not surrender." Marcus felt hope kindle in his chest. If Ember could make contact with his people, if he could tell them he was alive and safe, then maybe there was a way to help them. Maybe Ember was not just a refugee on Earth. Maybe Ember was something more. Marcus began to study everything he could find about space communication and signal transmission. If Ember could somehow reach his people, then perhaps the tide could turn. But Marcus did not know that within days everything would change. A transmission would arrive from the stars. A ship would enter Earth's orbit, and the reason for Ember's desperate flight would finally be revealed. For now, Marcus simply sat beside his dragon friend and watched the stars together, imagining worlds beyond imagination and hoping that somehow their friendship could matter in the vast cold darkness between the stars. The alert came at 3 in the morning. Every military base on Earth received the transmissions simultaneously. A ship had entered Earth's orbit. A ship that matched no human vessel, that matched nothing in any human database. The ship was massive and it was broadcasting a message in multiple languages, including perfect English. This is the Collector fleet commanded by Executor Vex. You are harboring a fugitive from the Draken species named Ember. This individual has committed crimes against the EU Collective and must be surrendered immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate invasion and assimilation of your world into the Collector Collective. You have 6 hours to decide. The message repeated again and again while governments scrambled and militaries mobilized. Marcus was still awake when his communication device lit up frantically with messages from command and from Patricia telling him to get to the bunker immediately. Instead, Marcus grabbed Ember. "We have to go," he said. Pulling the dragon close, Ember was trembling and making soft, frightened sounds. He knew what this was. Knew that the beings hunting him had found him. Marcus ran through the corridors of the research facility, avoiding the guards who were running toward the communications center. He had already prepared for this eventuality. A bag sat under his bed with supplies, cash, and fake identification papers. He grabbed it and headed for the back exit. Patricia was waiting for him outside her truck running. With the door open, "Get in," she yelled. Marcus threw Ember gently into the truck bed and scrambled after him. Patricia drove fast, heading away from the facility and away from the military convoys that were rushing toward command centers. "Where are we going?" Marcus shouted as they bounced across the desert to the old mining tunnels. Patricia called back, "I have a friend who works there. An engineer. We can hide Ember down there where no one will find him." The mining tunnels had been abandoned for years, but Patricia still had access through her father, who had once worked in extraction. They descended deep into the earth, far below where any scanner might reach. Marcus carried Ember deeper and deeper until they found a chamber that seemed safe, a place where they could prepare once Ember was settled. Marcus activated a portable computer and started searching for any information about the collectors, about Draken, about anything that might help him understand what was happening. He found old databases buried in encrypted military files. Patricia had access to Marcus, broke through the encryption, and read what he found. The collectors were real. They had been tracking alien vessels for years, but kept it secret from the general population. The Draken had once been a spacefaring species spanning multiple star systems. But 3 years ago, the collectors had begun their campaign of conquest and enslavement. The Draken had fought, but they were outnumbered. The collective had fragmented into pockets of resistance while the collectors absorbed world after world. Ember was special. Marcus realized as he read through the files. The dragon was not just any refugee. Ember was a member of the Draken ruling family, the diplomatic envoy sent to forge alliances with other species. Ember carried knowledge that could unite the fractured Draken resistance against the collectors. "You are not just a fugitive," Marcus said to Ember. "You are a hope for your people." Ember made a low sound that might have been agreement or sadness or both. "They hunt me because I know," Ember said. His English had improved dramatically under stress, as if fear crystallized his learning. "I know where the hidden cities are. I know the Drakens still fight. I know how to unite them. But Collector found my ship, found me. They destroy my vessel. They destroy my hope." Above ground, the world was changing. In the cities, people flooded the streets, demanding their governments resist the Collector's militaries mobilized weapons. Systems were brought online. Nations that had been enemies for centuries suddenly found themselves allied against a common threat. But the military planners all understood the same terrible truth. They had no defense against a ship that could blot out the sun. No weapons that could reach into space with any certainty. No way to fight an enemy that controlled the high ground above their atmosphere. The Collector ship broadcast again, 6 hours later, giving humanity a location. They wanted Ember delivered to a neutral zone, a clearing in the Arizona desert. Surrender, Ember and Earth would be spared. Refuse, and they would begin bombardment in one. Marcus watched the countdown on his computer, 3,600 seconds, ticking down to either Ember's capture or Earth's destruction. He could not choose between them. He would not choose between them. There has to be another way, he said desperately. Ember stood up and walked to Marcus, putting his head against the human's chest. You show kindness, he said. Simply, you show mercy. This is what my people need to see. Earth needs to see. This is the thing collectors do not understand. They take and take, but humans give. I feel this in you. I feel humans know how to give. Patricia had been listening to the radio updates. She burst down into the tunnels waving a datapad. Collectors are demanding we use our broadcast systems to reveal your location, she told Ember. They want to jam all human communications unless we help them find you. Marcus looked at Ember and Ember looked back at him. Those amber eyes held a resignation that broke Marcus' heart. I must go, Ember said. I surrender to save your world, to save your people. I will go to them. No, Marcus said firmly. But there is another option. We can make a broadcast too. We can send out a message. We can tell your people where you are. We can tell Earth what the collectors have done. Everything you know, everything you carry, it can reach others. We can turn this around. It is too great. Risk, Ember said. They will destroy the transmitters. They will jam the signal only. If we give them time, Marcus said, and we do not have to do this from here. Patricia, where is the nearest major broadcast facility, one that can reach space communications? Satellites. Patricia nodded, understanding blooming in her eyes. 30 miles south, she said. There is a new station with an uplink to the satellite network. It reaches the entire world. And that is where we go, Marcus said. We get there. We broadcast your message to your people and to every human on Earth. We tell them the truth about the collectors, about the slavery, about the conquest. And then we disappear. Let them hunt us in the tunnels while Ember's voice carries across the stars. Ember made a sound that was almost like hope. You would do this for me, Marcus. He said you would put your entire world in danger. I would do this for my friend. Marcus said, you matter, Ember. Your people matter. What the collectors are doing matters. All of it matters. Patricia was already moving toward the truck. Then we do not waste time, she said. Come on. As they climbed back up toward the surface, the countdown on the device continued. 1847 seconds remaining. The collector ship hung in the sky like a predator waiting to strike, and far below, in tunnels carved by human hands, 3 beings prepared to ignite a fire that would spread across the stars. The new station was in chaos when Marcus, Patricia, and Ember arrived. Military personnel were everywhere, setting up defensive positions and trying to coordinate with command. Everyone seemed to be waiting for death to arrive from the sky. Patricia showed her credentials and pulled Marcus through the controlled areas, saying he was a specialist being brought in to help with communication security. No one questioned her. The world was ending, and people did not have the energy to be thorough. The BROADCAST Center was on the 3rd floor, a room full of equipment that could send signals across the entire planet. Patricia sat down at the main console and began typing commands while Marcus brought Ember to a private corner where the dragon could see the screens but remain mostly hidden. We have minutes, Patricia said without looking up. The collector ship is over the Pacific now. They are moving toward our position. I estimate we have 5 minutes before they start bombardment. Can you lock them out? Marcus asked. Can you make sure nothing stops the transmission once it starts? I can put everything on a loop, Patricia said. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. I can make it so that to stop the transmission, they would have to physically destroy this building, and even then the signal might bounce through backup systems and still reach the satellites. It is not perfect, but it is the best I can do. Ember approached the equipment and placed his talons gently on the main transmitter. His scales began to glow with a soft golden light. I can boost signal, Ember said. His voice was calm, now focused. I can make it stronger. I can reach across space. I can reach my people. how Marcus Eskedrakon are connected to space somehow, Ember. Explained is difficult to say in human words. We feel the universe. We feel the spaces between stars. My people, I can touch them with my mind, if the signal is strong enough. Marcus understood, or at least he understood enough. He nodded and turned to Patricia, getting connected to the broadcast system. Then we pray. The military commander arrived 2 minutes later, his face dark with anger and confusion. What is happening here? He demanded. We are sending a message. Patricia said calmly, the truth about the collectors, about why they came here. It is the only thing that might stop them. That is treason, the commander said. He reached for his weapon, but Patricia moved with surprising speed. Older hands, but still fast. She grabbed a piece of equipment, and the commander went down before anyone could react. Patricia had sealed the control room doors. We do not have much time, she said. Ember took a deep breath, and his entire body began to glow. The dragon closed his eyes and made a sound that started low and grew into a resonance that made the equipment vibrate. The broadcast began. Greetings to all who received this transmission. I am Ember of the Draken people. I am the voice of those who can no longer speak. I am the memory of what was beautiful. Before the collectors came, Ember's voice was unlike anything human ears had ever heard. It carried harmonics and frequencies that seemed to come from the very fabric of space itself. But underneath the alien nature of it was something profoundly emotional, something that transcended species and language. The collectors call themselves builders, but they are destroyers. They come to worlds and they take, they enslave. They consume Draken worlds, burn 12 star systems, empty billions silenced. All in the name of their collective images began to appear on the broadcast screens as Ember transmitted his memories along with his voice. The crystal cities of the Draken, the beauty and grace of his people. Then the darkness, the collector ships descending. Then the horror of subjugation. But there is hope, the voice continued. Human kindness saved me. A human who had nothing to gain, sheltered me, protected me, risked everything for a stranger. This is the strength of the Draken. We protect, we defend, we care for those who cannot care for themselves. This is what the collectors will never understand. This is what will be their undoing. Broadcast pushed outward, reaching satellites, reaching relay stations, reaching across the void of space, toward distant stars. As Ember spoke, the dragon was pouring every ounce of his being into the transmission, his power amplified by human technology until his voice could reach places no dragon had been able to reach in years. Patricia was monitoring the collector response. Destroyer-class vessels were moving toward their position, but they were slowing. They were attempting to jam the signal, but they could not break it. Ember was too strong, and the backup systems Patricia had created were routing the broadcast through too many pathways. The military outside was not attacking. They were listening. Every screen in the building was showing Ember's broadcast. Every person was hearing the truth. Free Draken, listen, Ember said. I am alive. I survived. I am on the human world called Earth. These humans gave me shelter when they could have turned me away. These humans risk their lives now to give me voice. Humans are not primitive as the collectors claim. Humans are not weak. Humans are what the collectors fear most. They have capacity for sacrifice. They have capacity for mercy. They are the reason I'm still alive, and the reason I can speak to you now. More images came. Now Marcus and Patricia appeared in the broadcast. Marcus holding the young wounded dragon in his arms. Patricia working frantically at her equipment. Patricia knocking the collector commander down to protect Ember. All of it showing to the entire galaxy. Rise up, free Draken. Rise up, all species who have suffered under collector rule. This is your moment. This is when the chains break. This is when the meek discover their strength. Ember's voice reached a crescendo, and Marcus could see the dragon was suffering. The effort was immense, sweat dripping from the creature's scales. His eyes squeezed shut with concentration. But Ember pushed forward, refusing to stop. Humanity, you have been judged as lesser. Do not accept this lie. The kindness you show, the creativity you display, the bonds you forge, these are not weaknesses. They are your greatest strengths. Your world will be remembered as the place where hope was born, as the place where strangers became family, as the place where one act of mercy sparked a galaxy-wide awakening. The building shook as weapons impact. Outside, but the broadcast continued. Patricia kept the systems running, and Ember kept speaking, his voice carrying across light years, spreading like wildfire through encrypted networks and open channels, reaching consciousness after consciousness. In the void between stars, Free Draken military forces began to mobilize in hidden cities. Resistance fighters suddenly understood they were not alone. Enslaved species across 100 worlds began to hear Ember's message and began to understand that their chains could be broken. The collector fleet that had come to capture Ember instead found themselves suddenly dealing with coordinated attacks across their entire territory. Their forces were stretched too thin. Their supply lines came under fire. Their ability to maintain control fragmented, and through it all, Ember spoke, his voice becoming weaker but never breaking, telling the galaxy that hope was real, that change was possible, that one small dragon and two humans on a small blue world had decided to fight back. Finally, Ember fell silent. His broadcast ended. His message had been fully sent, and he collapsed against Marcus. The dragon was barely conscious. His scales had faded to a dull gray. His breathing was shallow. The military burst into the control room, but they did not come to arrest them. They came to protect them. The commander who had tried to stop them earlier was now standing guard at the door, his weapon pointed outward at any who would interfere. You have changed everything, he told them quietly. The collectors are being attacked from every direction. Their grip is breaking because of what you have done, because of what they shared with the galaxy. Marcus held Ember close and felt the dragon's heartbeat slowly return to normal. Exhausted, nearly broken, but alive. The fire had been ignited. The stars would never be the same. 5 days after the broadcast, the Collector Empire collapsed, not in a single moment, but in a cascade of coordinated rebellions. The enslaved species across 1,000 worlds rose up simultaneously. The Draken unified their scattered fleet. The machinery of oppression that had seemed unstoppable just 1 week earlier crumbled like sand. Ember recovered slowly in a hidden facility where Patricia and Marcus were allowed to stay without interference. The dragon had suffered greatly during the broadcast. His body pushed beyond what evolution had intended, but Draken biology was resilient. After 3 days, Ember began eating again. After 5 days, he could walk. Military leaders and government officials came to see them. People wanted to understand what had happened and how a single small alien and 2 humans had changed the course of galactic history. But Marcus deflected the attention. He did not want to be a hero. He had only done what his heart told him was right. On the 7th-day, ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They were Draken vessels, sleek and beautiful, and nothing like the brutish collector destroyers that had threatened the planet. The message came through calm and measured. We are the Draken Free Fleet. We come to retrieve Ember of the Royal House and to thank the humans who protected him. We come with an offer of alliance and exchange. The government scrambled to prepare for first contact. Marcus and Patricia were brought to the landing zone where 3 Draken descended from the ship. 2 were massive warriors with scales of deep purple and silver. 1 was smaller, more delicate, with scales that shimmered in every color of the rainbow. The smaller one approached Marcus and Patricia with grace and intelligence radiating from every movement. I am Lyra, keeper of the Royal Archives. I come to bring Ember home and to understand the humans who saved him. Marcus stepped forward, Patricia beside him. Ember is here. He said we will take you to him. But understand, Ember was never our prisoner. He was our friend. We do this because we care for him, not because we expect anything in return. Lyra tilted her head in a gesture that seemed universal across species. This is what makes humans remarkable, she said. The Draken military tells us that a simple act of kindness from an unknown alien species sparked a revolution that freed billions. Perhaps kindness is not weakness after all. Perhaps kindness is the strongest thing that exists. Ember emerged from the facility, and when the young dragon saw Lyra, he made a sound of joy and relief that was almost heartbreaking. The reunion was brief because Ember knew what had to happen, but the dragon returned to Marcus and Patricia. "First you save me. You save my people," he said. "I will not forget. Will you stay?" Marcus asked. Even though he already knew the answer, "I must go home. I must help lead my people. I must show them that the darkness is past. But I will return." Ember promised, "One day I will return to you, because you are my family, and family does not forget." The dragon ship that carried Ember away rose into the sky and disappeared beyond the atmosphere. Marcus watched it go and felt something break inside his chest. But it was not a bad breaking. It was the breaking of the chrysalis, allowing something new to be born. The weeks that followed brought massive change to Earth. The dragon established a formal alliance. The government created a Department of Galactic Affairs. Patricia was appointed to lead research on space communication technology. Marcus was asked to help establish diplomatic protocols, but he refused. He wanted to return to the desert and continue his research work. The world was changing, and fast. Humans suddenly understood they were not alone, and more importantly, they understood they were not insignificant. In a galaxy of countless species, humanity had proven something important. Humans had the capacity for mercy, for sacrifice, for genuine connection across all boundaries. 1 year later, the dragon requested a human representative to join their council. They wanted someone who understood the human heart, someone who could speak for human values in galactic government. Patricia nominated Marcus, and the council agreed. Marcus stood before the dragon assembly, a human among aliens in a chamber built on the dragon homeworld, surrounded by architecture so beautiful it made him want to weep. "I stand before you as representative of humanity," he said. "I want to tell you something about my species that I think is important. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the most advanced. We cannot see in the dark like your people. We do not have your grace or your intelligence in the traditional sense. But we have something else. We have the ability to love strangers. We have the ability to sacrifice for those we have just met. We have the ability to see someone in pain and answer with kindness, even when it costs us everything. This is not weakness. This is our greatest strength." As he spoke, Ember emerged from the shadows of the assembly hall. The dragon had grown even larger, had become regal and powerful. But when he saw Marcus, his eyes held the same warmth as when he was small and frightened in the desert. "This human saved me," Ember said, addressing the assembly. "This is not what a species in decline would do. This is not what a primitive species would do. This is what a species of true strength would do. Humanity has taught us that growth and power mean nothing without compassion and mercy." A standing ovation followed. The entire dragon assembly rose, and many other species representatives did as well. Humans scattered throughout the galaxy, celebrating this moment of recognition. After the ceremony, Marcus and Ember sat together in the gardens of the dragon homeworld, watching a binary sunset paint the sky in shades of purple and gold. "What will you do now?" Ember asked. "I will work to build bridges between worlds." Marcus said, "I will help. My people understand that we belong among the stars, not as conquerors, but as partners. And I will hope that one day Earth will be remembered, not for the weapons we might have used, but for the kindness we chose to show to a stranger." Ember placed his great head against Marcus' chest, just as he had done a year ago in the desert, and they stayed together in companionable silence as the sun set on a galaxy being reborn in. The years that followed, humanity earned its place among the stars, not through conquest or technological dominance, but through the simple recognition that kindness matters, that friendship matters, that the smallest act of compassion can indeed ignite a fire that consumes oppression and lights the way toward a better future, and on every dragon world and in every free species settlement the story was told. The story of a human who saw a dragon and chose mercy. The story of how one act of love changed everything. The story that reminded the entire galaxy that sometimes the smallest flame carries the power to illuminate even the darkest void. Marcus and Ember never parted again. Their bond became legend. Their example became the foundation of the new galactic order, where strength was measured not in weapons or territory, but in the depth of one's capacity to care. And it all began with a single human who saw something broken and beautiful and simply said, "I will help you."